The 2-week ceasefire between the United States and Iran, announced on the morning of 8 April 2026, has brought a fragile sigh of relief to global markets. For Nigerians, already battered by months of soaring prices and choked supply chains, the truce feels like a pause in a storm rather than the arrival of clear skies. The question on every trader's lips in Lagos, Kano, Port Harcourt, and Onitsha is not whether the fighting has stopped, but whether the suffering will. Given the deep structural wounds the conflict has inflicted on Nigeria's economy, the honest answer is that a quick return to pre-war normality is a fantasy. Elevated prices are likely the new normal, and the ceasefire itself may not hold long enough to make even that modest adjustment painless.
I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case. What we said is that the ceasefire would be focused on Iran, and the ceasefire would be focused on America's allies, both Israel and the Gulf Arab states.
Let us begin with the truce itself. The deal broke out after intense international pressure halts direct Iranian-American strikes, but leaves the underlying powder keg untouched. Iran has used the law to advance a comprehensive 10-point peace plan that goes far beyond the immediate crisis, demanding guarantees on sanctions relief and regional influence. Israel, for its part, has made it clear that the ceasefire with Iran does not extend to its ongoing operations against Hezbollah in Lebanon. That means a second active front remains open, one that could easily reignite the broader conflict. Moreover, hardliners in Tehran have already taken to the streets chanting "Death to America, death to Israel," while Israeli opposition figures have condemned the truce as a historic failure. These are not the sounds of a durable peace. They are the rumblings of a truce that is tactical, not transformational. Diplomacy is not dead, but it is on life support, and if it flatlines, the prospect for sustained peace in the Middle East and for stable energy prices in Nigeria will die with it. But even if the ceasefire holds for weeks or months, the economic damage already done to Nigeria is not something a simple halt in fighting can reverse. The survey data collected from market traders across Ibadan, Port Harcourt, Akwa, Onitsha, Lagos, Abuja, Kano, Calabar, and Bauchi paints a stark picture. 3% of respondents reported price increases they directly linked to the war. One trader in Lagos summed up the universal sentiment: anything you can think of, even water. Another in Abuja noted that rice, beans, cooking oil, in fact everything, they go up small. The price of diesel, the lifeblood of Nigerian logistics, proved particularly devastating. Generators and transport trucks run on diesel, and as its cost skyrocketed, so did the price of moving every sack of beans, every crate of electronics, every spare part. A spare part dealer in Onitsha captured the mechanical logic of the crisis. If the truck cannot move because diesel is too expensive or scarce, the parts do not arrive. The ceasefire has already delivered one tangible benefit. Global oil prices have dropped sharply, with Brent crude falling around 13% to just under $95 per barrel. That should push Nigerian pork prices back below 1,000 naira per litre, a significant relief from the peak of over 1,300 naira seen in Lagos. But here is the catch: that lower price is still well above the pre-war average of 813 naira, and diesel, which is less politically sensitive than petrol, has proven far stickier. Refining constraints and elevated shipping insurance costs mean that diesel will remain a persistent driver of high prices for goods across the country, even if the fighting stops tomorrow. Supply chain disruptions are another reason a quick return to normal is unlikely. The conflict did not just raise prices, it broke the rhythms of trade. A cosmetic seller in Port Harcourt explained that our regular suppliers could no longer guarantee delivery dates. A foodstuff trader in Kano said that foreign rice and apples had become intermittent luxuries. Repairing these networks takes months, not weeks, and even if goods start flowing again, the psychological scar on traders remain. The survey found that 63% of Nigerian traders believe the war will harm their business in the coming 3 months. That pessimism is already changing behavior. Some traders have reduced their inventory, fearing that they will be stuck with overpriced stock if demand collapses. That cautious destocking risks creating artificial scarcity, which in turn keeps prices high even when underlying costs fall. So, can Israel be trusted not to sabotage any peace deal? The honest answer is no. Israel's strategic calculus has long prioritized the destruction of Iran's nuclear and missile capabilities over any temporary truce. The current Israeli government has explicitly stated that the ceasefire with Iran does not apply to its conflict with Hezbollah, and it continues to reserve the right to strike Iranian assets in Syria and elsewhere. Trust is not a feature of this landscape. The death of diplomacy would almost instantly spoil any prospect for sustained peace, plunging the region back into chaos and sending oil prices on another violent spike. For Nigeria, that would mean a second wave of inflation hitting just as the first wave was beginning to recede. And what of West Africa more broadly? A renewed conflict will not just hurt Nigeria. Ghana, Benin, Togo, and others rely on the same global energy markets and the same shipping lanes through the Gulf. Iran has already listed key bridges across the Gulf region as potential targets, and any escalation will threaten the Strait of Hormuz, through which a fifth of global oil passes. West African ports would face higher insurance premiums, delayed shipments, and volatile fuel costs. Foreign investment already shy of the region would retreat further. The domino effect will be swift and severe. What should Nigerians expect then? The next few days will determine if the ceasefire holds for the 2-week period. If it does and talks progress, they should expect the ceasefire to continue for a few weeks, possibly a few months, but not indefinitely. The forces pushing for renewed conflict on both sides are too strong and diplomacy is too weak. In the meantime, they should expect a modest decline in fuel prices at the pump, but not a return to the old normal. They should expect that the price of a bag of rice, a liter of cooking oil, or a spare part for a generator will remain significantly higher than it was before the war began. They should expect their customers to have less money to spend, as the same elevated prices are eating into every household's budget. And they should expect that the next shock, whether from a collapsed truce, a natural disaster, or another global crisis, will find Nigeria just as vulnerable as this one did, unless fundamental changes are made to build resilience into the economy. The ceasefire is a much needed respite, but it is not a solution. Nigerians would be wise to treat it as a warning, not a rescue.